everyone, it's Stephanie and Chelsea from CS Planners, and today we have Amber joining us.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to connect with your audience.
We're so excited to have you. You are the jack of all trades. You've literally done it all. So can you tell us about what you do, who you are? Give us a quick insight into your business.
I'll give you the very quick entrepreneurial journey because it is a bit of a long one, but I'm sure I can shorten it down here quickly. And I want to share this journey because I feel like the whole hashtag entrepreneur life is just so overused on Instagram. And you and I both know that it's actually not how it typically looks in reality. So my very first business, I used to actually work on a construction site, building roads and bridges. I finished working on that and started my very first business, which was a fashion design label. So that saw me on a sewing machine. The first week I made 4 shirts and sold 4 shirts. The next week I made 8 shirts and sold 8 shirts. 5 years later, I had 120 accounts around the world. We exported to Paris, Tokyo, LA, and South Africa. I did runway shows all around the globe and dressed some of the biggest celebrities of the time, which back in the day was Paris Hilton. And you guys, this is before the internet. So imagine getting international labels and doing influencer marketing before the internet even worked. So I used to be in the day where I used to have to post a catalog out, pick up the phone and be like, hey, do you want to buy my stuff? That's how I ran my first business.
Wow.
So that business was great until it wasn't. That business, my manufacturer went out of business and basically took all of my money, all of my stock, all my patents, all my product, and saw me with nothing left. Like we'd invested every single dollar that we had into our next manufacturing run. They took all the money, they took all the patents, they took all the fabric, and we basically went bankrupt. So I was left stuck in Australia. I was bankrupt. And at the time, I'd realized I'd basically worked myself to death. So I had cancer, I had stomach ulcers, I was hospitalized with a nervous breakdown. I was on anti-anxiety, antidepressants, and basically was just a total mess of a human. Like it was not good. It was really extremely depressive place and very, mentally, emotionally, there was so many things. Physically, there were so many things that were not okay about that time in my life. So I swore I would never, ever, ever run another business ever again, ever. And that lasted about a year until I started my next business, which was a fashion styling business. So this is a one-on-one consulting business. So this saw me. I just moved to a new city. I had no contact, no networks, no clue. And I just woke up one day and changed my email name from fashion designer to fashion stylist and figured the rest out from there. So 3 short years after starting that business, I had 2 of the best contracts in the country. I was the fashion editor for Women's Health and Fitness magazine and the resident stylist at our biggest radio and TV network. And I just landed the job as a TV presenter for Fashion TV. So I was living my best hashtag fashion life, like interviewing celebrities, dressing celebrities, all glitz and glam, and literally thinking like, this is it. This is as good as it gets. Like my life cannot get any better. And so again, I'm sharing this story because the universe lovingly came along and pushed me out of that business as well. So the effects of the global financial crisis eventually hit Australia, and all monies for things like fashion and TV presenting dried up. I found myself unemployed and unemployable. I lost all of my contracts in the space of about 4 weeks, could not get any work at all. I even tried to go back to the construction site. They wouldn't even give me a job. And I just found myself going like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? Huge, huge nervous breakdown again, because that was my dream. And I knew that my fashion dream was coming to an end. So it was like, that was all I ever wanted to do in my whole life. And now that was over. What do I even have left? Like, why would I even get out of bed? And so again, that was a very extremely dark and negative place to be in, and really left me feeling like with no sense of purpose, no direction, and not knowing where I'm going to go next. And I feel like a lot of our audience is probably in a similar place right now, right? Because of the effects of the current climate. And they're probably looking around going, everything that I've ever known has been taken away. Everything that I've been working for the last 10, 15, 20 years is suddenly gone, or is now no longer an essential job, so it doesn't exist anymore. So if people are listening to this and finding themselves in a similar situation, I'm sharing this story just to let you know that it's all worked out for the best for me. So I never sat around thinking, oh, I'd love to work on a laptop in the middle of a tropical deserted island. That's my dream. I never thought that. I never thought for a minute, hey, I love teaching, I love empowering people, I love sharing my knowledge. I never sat around and thought that. My whole life dream was fashion, right? That's all I ever believed. But as the universe pushed me into this, I was sitting around with nothing, literally nothing, no prospects of anything. And my brother was like, you should create an e-course teaching people how to become a fashion stylist. You're really good at it. You know how to build brands, you know how to build global brands, like teach people that. So I sat down, this was in 2015. I got out my iPhone and I just sat down and spoke about everything that I knew about what I'd learned from my life experiences. So I didn't have a qualification. I didn't have a fancy degree in that or anything in teaching or styling. I just knew how to do it because I'd done it. I'd lived it. So it was my own formula, it was my own methodology, and a lot of our audiences probably got something like this, that they just know. It's their own method, it's their own, you know, stuff that they've been doing that no one else really does. So I took that, I put it into an e-course, and that was in 2015, and the rest, as I say, is history. So that year I took 18 e-courses in how to become a digital marketer and how to do, you know, funnels and e-courses and things like that. And we monetized really quickly. I made just over 100 grand, 6 figures in the first year. And then we've gone on to I've now created 4 6-figure e-courses. So fashion styling is my first one. My second one was a personal branding and presentation and publicity e-course. My third one is a mindset e-course, because obviously I've had a bit of mindset stuff going on. Yeah. And my last one is an e-course that teaches you how to build courses and funnels. And that course I actually made 104,000 in pre-sales. So before the course had actually launched, I made 104 grand on that course, which is the formula that I now teach in that course. So I share these stories with you firstly, because if people are thinking, oh, entrepreneur life, it's so glamorous. Sometimes it is, but mostly it looks like this. Most of the entrepreneurs I know, this is what their life looks like. It's like a giant roller coaster. And if anyone is sitting there thinking like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life because of what's going on in the climate, just remember, it's all working out for the best. You know, as I said already, I would never have dreamed that this is my best life, but it absolutely is. I'm so much more in line, and I feel so much more on purpose and in service, more than I've ever done in any of my fashion life. But I never would have led down this path. It took the universe to lovingly push me on this path to get to this place.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. That is so inspiring, especially right now. I feel like with everything going on, I feel like there's so many people right now that needed to hear your story. So that is incredible. So for those out there listening, if you were to give advice on, I guess, like what they would have to do to get started, what tips would you give to just launching, those that are new to starting their business? What kind of advice would you give to them?
So first off, you need to figure out what your genius zone is and your superpowers. So this all comes about through a self-discovery technique or self-exploration, and trying to figure out what is that thing that you can help other people with. And oftentimes we don't even think about it. Like I call it my genius zone. You know, my genius zone is this: helping people, empowering people to draw their knowledge out of them. And most people's genius zone, they don't even think it's that genius, because it's like, no, this is just that thing that I do. It's how I do this particular thing, whether it's at home or at work or in their personal lives, whatever it is. Most people don't even realize that the stuff that they know, not everyone else knows. And it's amazing. Like whenever I speak to some of my students and I hear what their courses are, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. Like, what a great, you know, I would never have thought that. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, like I've never even thought that ever. So, you know, first up, realizing and giving yourself permission to step into that role of like, no, the stuff that I know is actually genius, and validating yourself in realizing that people want to know this stuff. So I guess that's probably my first tip, is to really just, you know, give yourself permission to bring that out of you.
That's amazing. That's amazing advice. And so for those creating a digital product, what kind of digital product would you suggest that they create? Like, what kind of options are there for them? Because I know some of them had a question of, they know they want to start something online, but they just don't know what kind of products are out there that they can offer.
There are so many different digital products, everything from, I think we've all seen like a freebie, like a digital download, like a PDF. We've seen meditations that you can download. We've seen audio files that you can download, video series that you can sell, and, you know, one-on-one coaching that you can sell, group coaching, masterminds, things like that. So there is a whole bunch of different options and different ways to set it up. The thing that I find that is most scalable and also most profitable is a digital course. The reason being is when you create an e-course, you create it once. You can charge a high ticket for it. These days, a $2,000 course is pretty standard. Like when I was getting started, there were no $2,000 courses, whereas these, like, you know, a $2,000 course, if you're delivering a transformation that's going to change people's lives, That's great. And the great part about a digital course is it's completely scalable. You build it once and it still makes money today. So for instance, my first course, my fashion styling course, I built that in 2015. I built the funnel in 2015. I haven't touched that funnel since 2015. The exact funnel still makes me over 6 figures today. And I was looking at the ads this year and I was like, Amber Renae, you really need to revamp that funnel and those ads. Like, come on, girl, it's so old. And then I was looking at the ads, I'm like, they're still like so cheap. Like, why would I touch anything? So that's the beauty of this business. Like, and I call it your estate. So I've written a book called Dream Life, which basically runs through this process. And E is for, is like an acronym of DREAM, and E is for estate. So this is where you want to build your estate. So in the offline world, we used to go and purchase an estate if we wanted to build wealth. In the online world, we build our own estate. And I honestly believe an e-course is the most profitable of all, because you can get started straight away. You don't have to go through the whole, you don't need a lot of coaches think that they need to do a coaching qualification, which obviously you do if you've never done that before. You don't need anything like that. There's a really low barrier to entry. And right now, which I think is absolutely insane, is that there is not a lot of competition when it comes to online courses. So my students in particular, one of the first things I get them to do when they come to me and they look through, they tell me what their course topic is. And one of the things I tell them to do is go and research, like go and find out who your competitors are, what's their messaging, what's their angle, what's their brand story, like figure out what their price points are. And a lot of them come back to me and they're like, Amber, I'm doing it wrong. I can't find any competitors. And I'm like, maybe you're doing it right. Like actually that could be the case, because in this digital landscape, there are still not a lot of people selling the same courses. Like when I think about the people selling my courses, I've got like 3 competitors in the whole world. And then I think about my best friend who's an acupuncturist. She has 5 acupuncturists in her neighborhood. And when in the history of the world could you create a business where you have 3 competitors in the whole globe and you get to sell to the whole globe? Like, it's just such a unique time in the planet.
And I like that you mentioned that too about the acupuncturist, because you don't just have to be a digital person to create a course. So you can have a service and create a course too, right?
The majority of my students are that. So they're acupuncturists, but they realize that they need to reach a broader audience. So they find that they're getting asked the same questions over and over again. Or they can see that there is a formula, maybe it's not the whole, because I say to my bestie all the time, I'm like, you need to create a course. And she's like, no, it's such a unique service. I'm like, but there's parts of that service that you say to every single client. So take that part and put that into the course, and then offer one-on-one, maybe online consulting as an upsell after the e-course.
And how would you suggest people price their course? Because you said like you can list it for $2,000. What advice would you give on someone for making that price?
So what I see a lot of women doing, and I mainly speak to women, is we really value pricing based on our own self-worth, which is a terrible, terrible trap to get into. And I see most women coming to me and they go, oh, well, I built this huge signature program and it's going to transform lives and I'm going to charge $97 for it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Whereas like the man will come and be like, well, I built this huge signature program and I'm going to charge $10,000 for the exact same course, right? So firstly, I think it's a female thing that we immediately undervalue, and we immediately go, well, I'm just going to start small. I'm going to start charging $97, and then next year I'll charge $197. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be starting with a $2,000 or a $5,000 or even a $900 course straight off the bat. If you think about, rather than looking at like, oh, there's this many modules and this many hours, think about the transformation that you're going to provide for someone. So for instance, one of my clients is teaching, she's a survivor of domestic violence, and she's teaching a course around helping survivors get over their trauma. And I'm like, well, that's priceless, right? I mean, how can you put a price on that? Like if you can help someone overcome a lifetime of trauma, I mean, that's completely invaluable. So for her, she's charging a higher price point, rightfully so. So rather than looking at like, oh, there's this many modules, look at the transformation that you're going to give to someone. So for instance, my e-course, I'm basically giving you a digital business that took me 4 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn, and I packaged it all up and I've given it to you. So it's a higher ticket price point, but it's going to give you, it's basically creating a recurring revenue stream for you. So again, thinking about the transformation that you're going to give rather than the number of hours that's in it.
I absolutely love that. That's amazing advice. I feel like, that's phenomenal advice. And so those out there, say they want to do an e-course, they've already decided that. How would you suggest marketing or tips of marketing an e-course and building a funnel for it?
So funnels are totally my jam. I'm all about the funnels. I love automation. Obviously, it's the engineer in me that loves the techiness of setting it all up and reading it all. And the thing that I love most about funnels is it's maths. So once you build your funnel, you basically can read which part of your funnel is broken based on the maths of each step. So if you read my landing page is only converting at 18%, well, I know your landing page should be converting at 30%. So your copy on that page is broken. And then you can just go back and tweak your funnel that way. But actually, I probably should take a step before this just to explain what a funnel is, because it's one of those phrases right now that everyone's like, I think I need the funnels, but no one really knows what the funnels is. So a funnel is basically a fancy way of talking about a customer journey. So if you think about someone who doesn't know who you are, a cold audience member, you're going to put typically a piece of social media content in front of them, either by free or by virtual publicity or by virtue of ads. So you're going to get in front of a cold audience with a value-based offering, similar to what we're doing today, something that's free, valuable. When they watch that, you're going to give them the invitation to join your mailing list. So you offer something like a freebie. So we've seen, I'm sure everyone knows what a freebie is, but a PDF or a video series. My freebie of choice is webinars. I love my webinars. They've been transformative for my business. So you give someone the opportunity to join your mailing list, and through that mailing list and through that join up to the freebie, you're taking them on a customer journey and building that know, like, and trust factor. So during that process, you are adding in 7 psychological triggers to conversions, things like reciprocity, you're building authority, you're bringing in credibility, you're adding social proof, and you're eventually leading someone down to wanting to take the next step with you, which is to sign up and become a customer. So that's what your funnel is doing for you. So for everyone who's like, I don't like selling, I did not sign up, I hate selling, I hate marketing. Once you build your funnel, the idea of the funnel is that it will do the sales and marketing for you, so that your whole job is then creating top of funnel content, which is either social media or Facebook ads or publicity, or your job is to serve your customers, which is down here at bottom of funnel after they've purchased your product. So the whole idea of the funnel is just to warm your customers up, build that know, like, and trust factor so that they want to become customers of yours.
And the funnel ultimately does a lot of the work that you want done. Like, you have it set up, and like you said, it just constantly brings money in once you have it set up, and you don't need to keep moving the middle pieces, right? So that's right.
That's the whole idea of the funnel, is that once it's operational, and I've learned this the hard way, I end up tweaking my funnels and tweaking them back out of operational. So the best advice I've got is, once you've got a funnel that works, step away, like hands off, like let it run. So, and that's the beauty of what I was saying. So every part of this step, from top of funnel to middle of funnel to purchase, you can read the maths on that. There's industry-wide analytics that they're well known within the industry. They're in my course, and you can read which part is broken in your funnel. So that's why I really like this, because it's not ambiguous. You can literally go, it's like doing a maths equation. It's for my engineering brain, it's very neat and orderly. So you can literally go, that's working, that's not working, I'm going to fix that. This is working, but this is not working, so I'll fix that. And your funnel is just a series of email sequences, landing pages, sales pages, and if you're adding Facebook ads around that. So I think, again, everyone's like, okay, how am I going to build this whole thing? Yeah. Like, it can just be a very simple, I actually teach a tech-free approach to building funnels, but it's really just a series of landing pages and sales pages and email sequences.
And what do you think is the top struggle or like the top question that you get, and what advice would you give to someone?
So probably the top struggle that I see people having is not technically related. It's actually mindset related. Mm-hmm. So most of the people that I see come to me with imposter syndrome. So they get to a point, so they've signed up, yes, I know I'm going to create the course, I'm going to start that online business, and they get to a process right before they're about to make their first sale. So I teach, I'm like, just do this and you'll make your first sale. And they get right to this point and they're like, no, can't do it. Can't do it, Amber. And so they're like faced with imposter syndrome around stepping into that role as an expert, stepping into that role as, I'm no longer just the acupuncturist, I'm now the acupuncture expert. Like, I'm stepping up and I'm saying, no, I'm the expert, I'm creating the course, I'm the one that's going to, step into that authority role. So I see most of my women, getting to that point and finding a manifestation of resistance. So all of a sudden they're so busy everywhere else. All of a sudden their kids are doing these things and they just can't find the time to just make that one little extra step to start making money online. So I usually coach people through this because obviously we've all experienced imposter syndrome at some phase of our lives. And imposter syndrome, for those of you that don't know, is an interior limiting belief, a psychological belief that says, I'm going to be found out as a fraud or as a phony or as someone who doesn't know this thing. So mostly that's saying that if you're stepping into a teacher role, people are going to come along and go, well, you don't have that degree and you didn't study that at school and you don't have this and that. So that's the fear that's going on in our heads. So it's really just a matter of recognizing that that's going on whenever the resistance is manifesting, realizing that it's imposter syndrome, and then you can coach yourself through it, letting yourself know, like, it's safe for you to be online. It's safe for you to make money in your sleep. It's, it's great for you to make money in your sleep, and really just coaching yourself through it, whichever coaching techniques that you use. So that's probably the biggest barrier that I see most women having when they're stepping into the online space.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I was even going to say that I know even for us, we've talked about creating a course and talking about prices, and it's part of that imposter syndrome, which also devalues the price you choose for things. So I do fully believe that once you get over that, it does help and it does make a huge difference.
And I'd love to say that once you get over it once, it's done. But sadly, in my experience, it's not. So I always find that it's new level, old devils. So for instance, I built my first 3 e-courses and I priced them and I sold them and it was no problem. And then when I built Freedom Funnels, which is my course about funnels, I realized at the end of it, I'm like, well, this is going to create business. This is changing lives. It's going to create businesses. So I'm going to price it at a high ticket. And when I did that, it took me months to sell it. I was like, oh, you can't price high ticket. Marie Folio and such price high ticket. You can't do that. And so for me, it was again facing this imposter syndrome that I was like, I thought I'd gotten over this. But what I found is that it's new level, old devil. So when you get to a new level, you get the old devil of like whatever has shown up for you in the past, it's going to show up for you again.
That's incredible. So I know you've talked about scaling a business. How do you know when you're ready to scale and move your business up to the next level?
So scaling really comes down again to math. So if you're looking at your numbers and all of your funnel adds up, you're making sales organically, you're making sales through social media marketing, well, then it's time to start putting in some ad spend. So I see a lot of people doing Facebook ads and doing Instagram ads before the funnel is built, before everything's optimized, before everything is ready to sell. So that's probably the biggest takeaway that I have. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to spend some money on Facebook ads, but it's just like pouring fuel into a bucket which has a hole in it. So you're not gonna fill the bucket. You're just gonna leak all the cash straight out the door. So the key to scaling is to making sure that you're optimized completely from top to bottom, and that you have your systems in place so that you can handle more customers. So maybe it means looking at adding a support, like a virtual assistant on board, or maybe it means looking at adding. I always say you want to outsource the thing that you have the biggest blocks to. So if you find that you're getting to the end of the week and there's that one thing on your to-do list that you had to get done that week, but you just couldn't bring yourself to do it, maybe think about outsourcing that, because rather than it taking up time, it's going to take up mental space. And this is what we need to really be careful of in our entrepreneurial life, because it's a real big, it's a minefield out there. Like you're in battle every day. So I always say anything that's draining you mentally, that's what you want to offboard and find, outsource and find someone to help you with. Because otherwise, like I know myself, if there's something that I don't want to do, it's just like week after week and it just becomes such a drain. And that's when you get to the end of the week and you're like, oh my God, I hate my business. I just want to go back to my day job, and that's when it gets to that energy. And you don't want to get to that energy. So it's a really simple process of just going, cool, I'm going to pay someone for that. I probably can't, don't really want to spend that money, can't really afford to pay them. But the minute that you make that declaration, it's like a weight lifts off your shoulders and you're going, okay, cool. And you really feel like you've stepped into a whole new level of boss life, because you've now like stepped into that life of like, cool, now I'm an outsourcer and I don't have to do those things that are going to drain me energetically.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us have been there. Yeah. There's always something that you don't want to do. So it is amazing to hire VAs. And there's so many VAs out there that are looking for opportunities because they love doing those things.
Yeah. And they're really good at it too.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah. Well, I know you have a free gift to offer our audience. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. If everyone goes to my Freedom class page, you can opt into a 1 hour long webinar, which will talk you through in much more detail what we spoke about today. So how to build your very first course, how to get paid. So I told you at the start, I made 104 grand before I created my first course. So I teach you that formula, which is my MVP formula. And I teach you how to create your very first funnel live on the call. So you get a little workbook out, you can map out your first funnel, and you can actually see it in action. I give you some examples of like, okay, cool, that's what a funnel looks like. That's how it's going to work in my business. So I recommend going and doing that. It's got hundreds of 5-star reviews. People say it's more valuable than most of the paid courses they've been to. So definitely go and check that out.
Wow, thank you so much. And for the audience, you can find that at the link right below this video. Thank you so much, Amber. We really appreciate you being here. You have so much knowledge, and we have all of your links listed below as well. So the viewers, feel free to go and connect with Amber. She's incredible, and I'm looking forward to signing up for your webinar.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having me. And if you have listened to me on this summit, make sure you come and find me on Insta so that we can connect on there, and just let me know that you found me on the Girl Summit. And good luck to everyone starting your online business. Now is the time. So definitely get online.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.